Hello everyone, how's it going? We are gonna start. Welcome to everyone online. Welcome to everybody here in the office. Welcome to what we're calling, writing your first business plan and just looking at the key steps to get you to write your first business plan. Can I get a sense of who's written a business plan before? Maybe raise your hands. In high school, or one person in high school. How many people in here? Was it? Business studies in high school. Never written a business plan. You have. When? How long ago? How long ago? A year ago. Okay. Was that honors or high school? Undergrad? For your venture. Okay, cool. Anybody else written a business plan? Perhaps you're online and you wanted to tell us if you've written a business plan before. You can just unmute and tell us your experience.
I've written more business proposal for NGOs and NPOs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm handling.
NGOs and NPOs. Nice. Yeah. Okay, that's good. And can I get a sense of what you guys are expecting today? When you walk out of here, what are you expecting?
Write a business plan that will just wow.
Yeah. Okay, hectic. That's a lot of pressure. Eh? Write a business plan. If you just walked in, you can get paper here. Cool. All right. So that's important, right? To know what the business, how to do a business plan. Anybody know what the purpose of a business plan is, or yeah, attract investors. That's very important. Any other thoughts? Yep. Oh, you can just say. You don't have to raise your hands. Eh? Not a classroom, guys. We're just chatting. Yeah. Understand business better. And you feel free to interject at any point, right? We're not in a classroom. I hate classrooms. Sorry, say that again.
They can have a plan. Business planners keep track.
Yeah, keeping track. Yeah, keeping track of your progress. Yeah, very important. Very important. Online people are awfully quiet today, huh? Must I pick on a few guys? Hey, what do you guys think online? Must I pick on somebody online? Just see other thoughts. Hey, wants to do that? Eh, let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me check the chat first. Yeah, it's somebody here saying. Saki was saying that it's to understand the financial part, and also expecting to learn a thing or two about a business plan, what the business plan should contain. Okay, cool. That's from Gabriel. All right, cool. I won't pick on anybody online. I've got some thoughts there. All right, cool. So can I just tell you what I'm expecting? I'm just expecting to spark your curiosity around what our business plan is all about. And then from there on, I hope that you'll be able to take the resources I give you to then move on to start thinking how you can structure something together. And with the business plan, trying to make this fun. So I've printed some stuff for you here. If you're here, I will also send these printouts to everybody online by email. I'll do that as well, just so that you can then walk through this yourself if you want to. So I want to make this a bit practical as well. I'll also show you a few case studies of what a business plan looks with one or two famous companies that you might be familiar with. But otherwise, yeah, that's about it. Any thoughts before I kick start? All right, wonderful. So we'll get into it. So, right. So there's actually a broader conversation around like the whole business plan process. It's really around the business model. And anybody have an idea what the business model is? Think about models like in general, like when you're sitting with your supervisor, you're talking about conceptual plan, you're talking about your theoretical framework, you're thinking about the model that you want to use and so on. Yeah, an overview picture of the business. Okay. Anybody have any thoughts online of what a business model is all about?
Hi everyone. I'm not sure, but I can just try. I think it's a structure of how to start your business, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, so my level is saying it's just a structure to start your business. Very, very interesting. So let's get to it, right? So think about a business like think of it as a journey, right? Right? Don't think of it as a point of arrival or a point of departure. Like it's a continuous living like document, and also it's like a living organism. It's like we talk about the business growth life cycle, right? We talk about life of a business. We talk about businesses dying, and it's like a life, you know. So think about it like a baby, and it's got to go through the steps from when you conceive the idea, conceptualization exactly, to when maybe you just when the business grows and you sell it off or whatever. So think about it as a journey, right? And ask yourselves these questions in the process. How do you create value? And then some people ask, what's value? So I'm going to ask you, what's value? Yeah, I'm just going to repeat for everyone online just so they can hear clearly. So she's saying that it's, you know, it's a subjective process, and it's a very subjective process, and it's also a process that is dependent on the person who is, I guess, evaluating if this is valuable or not. So any other thoughts on what do you think value is? No. Okay. Name a thing or two that you think is very valuable in your life right now. Money. Cool. I'm glad she said money. Very important. Can't survive without
I
it.
think reputation.
Reputation. Yeah. So it's reputation, perception, you know, branding, you know. Yeah. And then think about this, right? So in economics, we talk a lot about value as an exchange, right? We're talking about I have maybe gold, and then you give me money for my gold. And then we're looking at value as an exchange between two parties, right? But then the conversation gets interesting because value is not always just economic. Sometimes value can be social. Sometimes value can be cultural. So how do you measure that, and how do you represent that in the business? That's why I like the whole concept of social entrepreneurship, because we appreciate the fact that the business is not just a economic entity only, but you know, it can create value at a social base, can also create value at a cultural base, and many other bases as well. But maybe we'll just keep it like at social. So how do you identify customer needs, right? Like imagine we are all customers here, right? You've had to buy something in the last week. Think about something that you bought in the last week. Where did you go for that? And why did you buy that there? What need did that meet? So we went to the shops recently, maybe yesterday or even today. What did you go buy?
Groceries.
Yeah.
At Loftus.
Loftus. Okay. Why did you go to Checkers? Did you go to Checkers?
It's more convenient.
Okay. It's convenient.
Yeah.
All right. All right, cool. So he's mentioned something very important, right? So he's mentioned groceries, and he's also mentioned convenience. And then he's also mentioned the fact that I think it's a proximity thing. Which race are you staying in? Jacaranda. Okay. So it's just like a stone throw away. Well, not really, but just walk down the road, unless if you Uber or whatever. But you know, the Uber there.
Yeah, no, Uber there.
Uber. Okay, cool. There's another need, right? So groceries and transport, and then you have to use a service to get you the e-hailing service to get you to the place. Anybody else? Might not be groceries, but somebody else that you got something, might have been KFC or whatever. Yeah. You got what? Hair bands. Okay, cool. Interesting. So that's a different need that you had, right? And you went and you met that need through buying at a shop. So we're all customers. We're all clients, right? Who's got Discovery? All of us, right? You got Discovery Maker Late. Yeah, we're clients of Discovery Maker Late, right? And it's solving a very important problem or a very important need in our lives, healthcare. Cool. So just thinking about that, right? Keep that in mind, and then let's look a little bit at how do we exploit an opportunity, right? So the business model, we're thinking about opportunity. How do we exploit an opportunity? There's a reason why a couple of years ago, actually, let me run on this example of Loftus. A couple of years ago, Loftus, that shopping center at Loftus didn't exist. Maybe like 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, that didn't actually exist. It was just a stadium. And then next to the stadium was nothing. It was just, yeah, I think it was just, there was nothing going on there. So now we've got that shopping center. So somebody actually created that, exploited an opportunity and created something for us. Now we all go there and we shop. What resources do we need, right? We have to think about what resources do we need to exploit that opportunity. You'll need different resources for different opportunities that you're pursuing. And then very important, you mentioned money earlier, right? How to make money. How can this business make us money? That's a golden question. And what you mentioned projections earlier, you spoke about projections earlier, sort of like having a sense of the forecast of the business, right? Very good point. So you actually touched on that, right? We've got to have projections in the short term, medium term, and long term. So, and then obviously all of this paints a picture of how you might possibly run a business. So this answers the question of what is a business model. So it's very interlinked and it's multiple things. So you got to look at them collectively, not individually. And some business models are stronger than others because they have a very strong sense of obligation for what they're doing and how they're meeting their need. For example, we can look at education. There's many business models out there, like tutors. I think there's a lot of tutoring companies on campus that are there to help, create value for students that are struggling in class, whatever. So cool. So we'll carry on and look at the next one. So there's 4 different types of models. Remember we explored design thinking the other day, the 5-step process. You remember? And then there's a lean startup model. So these are things that you'll typically find if you're to try and Google or whatever, or if you do a bit of research around business, the business models out there, you'll find they typically come back to any of these 4. So I've done the hard work for you. You don't have to worry about that. Just know it's any of these 4. And within these 4, you'll find some interesting things in there. I'll just scan through them quickly, and then I'll focus on what we want to focus on today, which I believe is the strongest business model to consider to help you write your business plan, because it covers this it's very applicable in different environments as well, in context. So design thinking, just for the sake of everybody who wasn't here the last time, basically, when we talk about design thinking, we're essentially talking about a 5-step process that has the individual or the customer at the heart of it, right? We're thinking about how do we understand the problem, how do we empathize with people, and then we define what the problem is, and then we come up with ideas to figure out how best we can solve that problem, and then we prototype, and then we test, and then we come back into that loop again. So it's like a nice loop of keeping the person that you're trying to help at the center of everything, at the core of everything. All right, cool. So that's a 5 steps of design thinking. I've also shared these materials in the previous email, I think. So you can scan through that if you missed any of the sessions. And then the lean startup model, it's basically, it's an interesting one, right? There's a book actually by Eric Ries, who emphasized a rapid experimentation of like getting customer feedback and the continuous flow, right, of that to develop a product or a service, right? So it's like anybody familiar with Dropbox?
Yeah,
You familiar with Dropbox? Yeah. What does Dropbox do?
it's more like an email based, but also using Google Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like a Google Drive as well, so you can use it to transfer file. People can always collaborate and store.
Yeah.
And you have storage just like Google Drive.
Exactly. So it started actually it went through this process. One of the businesses that we know as a case study that's used a lean startup model. They use that constant feedback to come up with, and eventually they arrived on Dropbox. So that's an example. So basically you want to build a minimum viable product, and then you want to collect as much feedback as you can from the customers, and then you want to use that feedback to help you, and that data to then help you learn as much as you can learn in a shorter period of time. I don't know if you've ever heard Elon Musk. There's videos of him talking about how he escalates his learning process. So he says you can fast track. So if you're working on a goal, right, you can fast track how you can get to that goal. So if I'm planning to finish my quote unquote thesis by August or July, right, I can essentially fast track that process to like maybe March, from January, instead of going from January to July, I can go from January to March. And he just argues that the more time that you put into that project, you'll bring the data a bit sooner. So this lean startup approach is basically almost adopts the same process for like, how do you create something in a minimum viable product that we can test and get as much feedback as we can without spending a lot of money, so that we can get a viable product sooner and without spending a lot of money, so we can go out to the market. So if you're spending 3 hours a day on your research or your studies, and you want the goal is to finish in July, if you spend 9 hours a day every day, you might finish it in March, just as a thought, right? So this is like a very, and then you just repeat the process. So anyway, that's just basically it. That's just the lean startup in a visual format. That's just, we have ideas, we build it, we could have a product or a service. We like test it in the market. We get all this data from the market. Oh, this is what we're supposed to do. And then from that data, then we learn again, and then we go back to the loop until we come up with something where the feedback is more like, oh, wow, this is great. We want this. We would definitely sign up for this. Cool. So then there's also a experimental laboratory model. So this basically allows you to work in innovation day by day, and typically allows you as an entrepreneur to experience a bit of failure and success in the process. And obviously, this is something that you'll find a lot of in labs, obviously, because they've got to test. Anybody here working in a lab right now? In a lab environment? Yeah, you want to tell us a bit more, Amy, how this works?
Yeah, when it comes to experiment and laboratory, you can always maybe take, for example, when you're doing research, you always do a kind of trial run. You experience a lot of difficulty, you learn along the line, you note some things down, things you're not supposed to do, things you're supposed to do, or to observe some to see reasons why something happened. And then when you now want to actually maybe start the real experiment now, or let's say the previous one was supposed to be the real, now you have to turn it to preliminary test because now it is not useful. Then you learn along the process and now amend all those mistakes, or let's say experience you gain now. You have to now implement them in the new one. And then we'll now see a well-structured data or a well-structured model that is being brought.
Wonderful. I like that. And also think about the pharmaceutical space, right? I haven't studied pharmacology, but I can tell you, if I want to get medication from a pharmacy, like I want to know that they've tested this, So in the lab environment, this is great because they experiment certain drugs and test it on certain, to make sure that by the time it gets to the market, when it gets to you and I, we are not guinea pigs and we're not gonna suffer the effects of them not testing it right. So yeah, I don't think it's something that you would worry about right now, but I think yeah, that's something just for you to know, in case if you're wondering what the other business models are. Anybody ever heard of the business model canvas by any chance? Yeah, tell us a bit more.
Yeah, so I know about it is it's also a snapshot of what the entire the business is, looking at the partner, the different, how you structure your value proposition, how do you get to supply the product, then you're also looking at the cost structure. So
Yeah.
the snapshot of the problem.
Yeah, exactly. So that's an overview of the business. So I'll just explain this. We're going to focus on the business model canvas because I think it's a very strong, robust way of looking at building your business model. And you can literally build your business plan on this, like literally. I'll send you all the templates and stuff, but for today, I'll just explain a little bit. So it just gives you a better understanding, especially if you're either starting off or already in an existing business, you can always go to the business model canvas. And also just helps you to be very agile in the sense that, there's market changes, right? Things are changing in the market all the time. And if you apply the business model canvas, it allows you to sort of react to those, and also to really pay close attention to all your stakeholders involved in the process. So this is basically the business model canvas. The first part is looking at customer segments. Anybody have an idea what customer segments might be? In marketing, it's very common jargon in marketing. Yeah.
Customer segmentation is just basically trying to understand the demographic of who are your customer, the people you want to that would be paying for your product. When it comes to your product, who are your customers? Like having information, detailed information, or let's say a narrowed down information in terms of their age, their name, their location, where they base, and all those demographics. It's just the called the customer segmentation.
Yeah. So like essentially what he said, you're trying to understand who are you creating this value for. It's like,
Target market.
yeah. Otherwise, a lot of businesses are guilty of this. They create value for themselves. They sit in boardrooms and meetings, and they're not really engaging with. They're creating value based on their assumptions that, oh no, our customers, but they haven't engaged with them. So it's good to understand where they are, what they're doing. Yeah, so those are things to think about. And then the second part is value propositions. Anybody wants to have a guess of what that might look like? You can even look at your notes as well on the papers. Did everybody get a paper here? I know everyone online, you haven't seen the notes, but I'll send them through on email after the session. But yeah, somebody wants to read that for us, maybe? Or what you understand of value propositions?
Understand it in such a way that the pain you're solving, that's the point you're getting. So, for example, if you're looking at someone who's not grasping their content area, so the value bring to them is them being able to understand their content. So you solve the pain of having to maybe read bunches of content, not understanding it, then you're getting them tutors that will easily enable them understand their content without having to ask.
Yeah. So that's another way of looking at it.
Can I just add a little, or let me just say value proposition in summary is just more like trying to say, what do you bring to the table?
Yeah.
That's just in summary. What do you bring to the table? What are you giving your customer? What are they going to benefit from?
Absolutely.
That is.
A lot of women like to ask guys, what does the guy bring to the table, right? You guys heard that before? Hey? Yeah, I heard that before. Oh, it's the other way around. Yeah. Value, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's basically just answered, but I would say, like, what business problem are you trying to solve? That I would say is value proposition. For example, like maybe 15 years ago, there was no Uber, right? So the founder of Uber, he was heading to a business meeting, but he was late. And he was waiting for his meter taxi, but he was late. So he saw that problem. No, what if I created an app where I could just order a ride like 5 minutes before my meeting and then I'll make it on time for the next meeting. So that is the business problem that you solved for customers, basically.
Yeah. And some things to think about, right? Some buzzwords you can think about when it comes to values, like newness, like Uber, creating some new. Performance, are you enhancing performance? Are you going to help us reach our goals a bit better? Imagine if somebody designed an app that allows you, that studies for you, that you don't need to be studying. The app studies for you, and somehow by default it transfers the information in your brain when you're sleeping. That'll be like a big like innovation, because everyone is going to be on that, right? It's like, I just tell this app to learn a new language. Tomorrow morning I wake up speaking a new language. All right, that's newness, right? You're looking at, so I'm adding value, right? So yeah, and just I think also depending on where you are, it's about looking at like cost reduction as a big thing. If I can create, let's say I run a factory. I've got a friend of mine who's got a factory, he makes plastic bags. So I think he makes like 1 million plastic bags like a month or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But if I went to him and I said, listen, I've got a machine that allows you to make that number in an hour, then obviously that's at maybe 1% of the cost that you're spending now. Obviously, that's something that you'll be interested in, right? So sometimes value is not always in in the, you say what?
Doesn't have to be meaningful.
Yeah, it can be just solving. Imagine if, okay, think about this. Imagine if there was a school or a university that didn't charge any fees and they got rid of the cost element. Like that would be quite a good thing, right? So you got to, so that's a value element. So the value can be derived in different ways. So it's for you to figure out how you're gonna create value. What aspect are you gonna look at? All right, cool. The third part, channels. Who wants to give us an idea of what channels are? You guys watch TV, switching channels?
Channels as well can be described as the means of communication, how you reach your customers.
Yeah.
So simply means if your idea is into something that can be transmitted via digital means, or it's through the traditional means where it's one-on-one marketing, how do you want to deliver, or how do you want to market your goods to your customer? How are you going to reach them? If your customers are people who are not online, maybe your product is addressing old people who doesn't come online, and definitely you should know social media is not your way, or probably the traditional method of going physically to go attend to them.
Yeah.
Way of marketing. So a channel is just simply how do you go to market, how do you disseminate your information?
Yeah. So on campus you can experience education by being physically on campus in class or going on ClickUp to access the, you know, the study material, and then your lecturers liaise with you via ClickUp, via email. You guys on these WhatsApp groups, right? The different, are they classes or are they module WhatsApp groups? And the different modules. And then there's some guys posting memes there that they shouldn't be posting, but again, it's all with the goal of getting you through this module. So think about the business the same way, like there are all these channels of communication and these channels of getting something to a customer, but it's all with one goal, right? To get that value into their hands. You know what I mean?
Majority channels focused on marketing. It's marketing the majority of that.
So it's one thing to have an offering, and it's another thing to know about it. Like, have you ever seen when somebody is talking about something new and you're like, I've never heard about it. You're like, wow, this is actually exciting. I didn't know that this exists. So the marketing is basically getting the word out there, and it's part of the channels in terms of just, I guess, communicating, but more so, how do you deliver that value? Like, how are you going to get it from point A to point B? What ways are you going to use for that? All right, so we'll go on to the fourth one, customer relationships. Who wants to take that one? Yeah. Interaction between the customer and the business. Yeah, loyalty, satisfaction, getting a sense that they're happy. Any other thoughts on customer relationships?
Customer relationship as well, this cut across both the customer segmentation and the channels and everything. I'm saying this in the sense that when it comes to customer relationship, it dates back to the empathy stage as well. There's something called the continuous empathy, because the first empathy stage was for us to be able to understand what is the problem that our customers are going through, how do we solve this problem? But invariably, it's a continuous thing. You want to continue to solve this problem. So you have to understand that a continuous empathy, you need to keep updating yourself. What are the new things that these people actually require, so that you can as well still continue to solve the problem? Without a continuous relationship with them, you won't be able to continue with that empathy. That shows that you won't be able to solve their problem more. And if you are unable to solve their problem, which it advances with time, there's tendency for them to opt out of your own idea and go for a better one. And then when it comes to that same relationship, it's still about you being able to get their information. Sometimes Pick and Pay sends me some messages.
Smart shopper
card and tell me, yeah, you have this social credit. Why not just make use of it? It's a way to relate with me, to just let me know that it is time for you to come and buy something. It's been a long time we've seen you.
Yeah.
So that is the relationship, and that comes about which channel did they use to communicate? Sometimes phone number, sometimes email. And if they have not understand through segmentation, if they have not understand the kind of customer they are dealing with, they wouldn't remember that, oh, this is a student, this would need to buy something like that. So just something like that.
Exactly. And then anybody familiar with the other ones, like clicks, what's it, clicks club card or whatever? You know, those other ways. It's just ways they just trying to get feedback. Or you won't ever go to the dentist and then they say, oh, give us your feedback about the experience, whatever. So exactly what OPM said. And the next one, revenue streams, number 5. Yeah, you want to give us a sense?
They're not like trying to have profits, but just giving back to community just to have that long-term relationship is applicable in this regard.
So that's actually a very good point, and I'm glad you brought it up. So you'll see, we're talking about corporate social responsibility. Essentially, talking about the company is got an obligation to the environment, to their society, to at least show care and to be present and helping meet their needs in different ways. And different corporates decide how they want to do that. But in essence, corporate social responsibility stuff can actually be a strategy of goodwill. Yeah, PR, and to be seen as though you are in tune and in touch with the needs of people in society. Take it back to when in COVID, right? You remember business was also involved. Yes, government was leading the drive in helping citizens stay at home and social distance, but then corporates also playing a role in helping citizens get certain key care items that they needed. So that's an example of like how corporates can get involved in CSIR, just as an example. But again, it means that the business is not removed from what people experience. And so, yeah, it's a great way to, I guess, what some would call PR stunt, but to show care.
I think also the customer relationships evolve with the business model. For example, I went back to a company that deals in education. They had the parents bring their kids over the weekends for weekend activations. The activities were donated for the weekend for the students, for the kids. So when the parents would bring kids, they had the chance to go along with books. Then they borrow them books. On the next day, they come bring back that book. So the child has the chance to borrow a book without having to buy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Somebody wants to tackle revenue streams? So it's quite encompassing, right? So if you're a business owner, you have to think about a lot of things. Like, so I used to have arguments with one friend about how we're going to price certain items when we're running this other business together. And we were also sold that, people will be willing to pay this amount for this. But in essence, no, they don't. They don't want to pay that. They want to pay much less, So it's good to do the homework and find out, what are you willing to pay? Like, what are you willing to pay for a meal, for example, when you go out for like dinner or for lunch? What are you willing to pay? 100 rand? Just throw out some numbers. How much are you willing to pay? 100 bucks? 50 rand? No? 35 bucks?
25.
25. You can get meals for 35 bucks, yeah. So then obviously if you say that, then we're gonna have a conversation about the experience of you getting this food. Is it a fast food? Was it fine dining and 4-course meal, 3-course meal? What's the view like at that restaurant? What are the reviews of that restaurant? So yeah.
Get what you pay for.
Quality for like for example, traditional attires.
Yeah.
It's a niche market. And in trying to install this Pan-Africanism in African concept, to pay whatever, but as long as it's not like 1,000. So it depends what just saying.
Right. Right. So again, right? Again, it's all so there's many assumptions that you have to kind of cancel out, right? So you can't say your business model, your value, let's just say typically speaking, your value is about giving students meals that are affordable. And then you come out here to the price point and then you want to charge more than they're willing to pay. Like it's gotta be linked up somehow. But yeah, so it's good to think about that. And then obviously to create the value is gonna cost you something. So you need to start figuring out what's it gonna cost. Just a few typical examples would be like product development costs, looking at like if you have a rental space, if you have resources, machinery that you need to buy, all those costs are part of revenue streams. And I'd like to break them down into one of two things. Either one is like costs, so all those expenses you're gonna incur to create the product or service, and then the other one is more like income. What can I expect to charge people for the service, and what are the possible ways I can generate money? So that's revenue streams. And who wants to go to yeah.
Is there like a formula?
Yeah, who wants to answer that?
Sorry, everything, I still believe everything falls back on that demographic issues, the customer segmentation. Like if you know the customer that you are selling to, people who wants to pay for a product, you have to understand what is their ability, where they work, and when I say demographic information, basically who they are, what they're capable of, what they can afford. So if my business is targeting, and that's why some of my friends will say, don't solve poor man's problem, solve big man's problem. You solve big man's problem, you know that you get big money from them. Solve poor man's problem, then expect not poor money, but I mean small money. So in that sense, what I'm trying to say is that you know the demographic. If your market is targeting rich people, you know they can pay for it. So even if you improve the quality for poor people, they will tell you they cannot afford it. Take, for example, let's say Netflix. There's a way Netflix always balance their market. They keep increasing the price until they realize that the ratio of income is less than the ratio of views. Then they have to reduce the price, and they realize that, oh, seems as if all of our customers, this is what they can afford in an average. But trust me, they keep increasing it till you realize that a lot of people are opting out. Then they reduce it back to not the previous price, but a kind of average price. Everybody again opting because it's just a way to test the water. You cannot get the actual price, but you can get the reasonable average that when the income, the money they pay, it can easily supply the amount of money you are investing in it. And when you have your profit, that's all you want. There's nothing more. So you cannot say you have a specific way to get it.
Yeah, you guys can go. Yeah, please go ahead.
That's we also have to factor in the aspect of completing products by the end of the day.
Yeah.
What are they selling for? You can't just sell because this is the customer.
Yeah.
And then you know the fact that okay, similar products, how much are they selling or how much are the customers buying for?
Exactly.
Still,
The competitive prices, okay? Some thoughts?
To ask to what you said, I think it also depends on where you are. For example, if you're starting up and you're using, of course, you're definitely going to use the penetration strategy.
Okay. You want to explain the penetration strategy?
Okay, like
Everybody doesn't understand. So if you have a new product or if you have a new offering in the market, there's different ways you can price your products or your services. And it's a marketing trick, and it falls under marketing. So penetration pricing is one of the things. So you want to explain?
of course, you are entering the market, you have a lot of competitors. So a bit you may tweak it down, like buy 4, get 1 extra, or just bring it down in a way that you are penetrating the market because, of course, you have competitors in that your business or product niche. So when it has to do with pricing, number one, you have to look out for if you're starting up, am I using the penetration strategy?
Yeah.
Then secondly, you can also get a view on how to price your product or service. Sometimes service markets usually have this challenge of how to price. So for service, you have to now look at your competitors or those that are in the field. They'll give you an idea on what to price. Then next, you can, of course, your cost. Let's say you want to calculate your break-even amount, and there's also the cost, the calculation. your fixed and variable cost must equal to your revenue. So whatever you're doing, you must ensure that even in the break-even period, you are not going below your cost. Let it be that for that period of 4 years when you're in that break-even stage, you're trying to, okay, what comes is what I invest, so I invest till when you can now up.
Does that answer your question? A little bit? It does, okay. But I think the big takeaway there is around break-even point. Break-even point is where your costs and your income sort of like meet, yeah. And that then allows you to determine how many items you need to sell at what price to reach that break-even point. So I think that would help as well, just to determine what the cost of the, and also doing market research, because it doesn't help me to sell, if I'm selling cars, it doesn't help me to overprice certain cars. I can't sell a entry-level car like a Swift, or a Suzuki Swift, at the price of a Lamborghini. Doesn't make sense, right?
It makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's all up to, if I would say, who's your market? Who are you
Yeah.
trying to serve? You want to serve the middle class or the upper class? So who you want to serve?
Exactly. What OPM just mentioned earlier about.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to say. I understand that it's dependent on all these things.
Yeah.
But it is important that if you say this is your market, let me give for instance with the example he has given regarding say how you enter, that is your beach head, how you enter into the market. Okay, let us understand that there is Uber, there's InDrive, and there's Bolt. InDrive, there was a strategy that came after Bolt and Uber came in. InDrive came in through cost, and InDrive was simply just targeting people who could not afford Uber.
Yeah.
But trust me, people who have been using Uber never used InDrive. Just try to get what I'm trying to say. So when we say customer segmentation, understand the people you're going for. The price will always be the price, regardless of how you enter into the market. It is still both based on your customer exactly. So InDrive came for the poor. Both was just there for the average, and Uber is always for the rich. And trust me, people who have been using Uber, they never can use InDrive. It is just like that in market.
No. Passionate. OPM is passionate about this stuff.
Another thing is in business, the perceived value
Yeah.
from the angle of the customer matters a lot.
Yeah.
If people don't see your product as valuable, for example, in where I come from, in Nigeria, for example, if you want to sell this product to me, who is a student, you can sell this product for me for let's say 50,000 naira. But when you want to sell this product to a big man, in quotes, right? And you bring this product for 50,000 naira, he already perceives that thing as low quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to look at, as much as we look at the personnel, the demographics, and all of that, you must, how do your customers perceive the value you are bringing? So if they perceive that in this product there's value, sometimes marginal cost, they are willing to pay 1 rand extra to get that product. But if the value is not seen as something worth it, they will always substitute for the alternative, which are your competitors. So that is why in marketing, especially, not just in sales, in marketing, everything is to give a narrative about the product that makes it worth the value.
Yeah, it's communicating. And I think it's in line with what the chats and the comments are in the online. Gabriel's asking how well you certify your customers based on what you deliver to them, and do I need to go study economics to understand these concepts fully? No, you don't. And basically, yeah, we essentially just, we're selling value to people. I wanted to say something, but I forgot. Okay, so we carry on. So I just want to show you a few examples so that, because in the interest of time, I know you got to go to class. All right, so number 6, key resources. Simple things like the physical location, like the building, intellectual property, IP, patents, if there's anything involved, the brand of the company, copyrights, data, your human resources, your team, that kind of stuff. Those things are very important. That helps you obviously to give that value to your customers and so on, and also a bit of financial elements involved there in helping you create that value. And then key activities, number 7, obviously production is number 1, and then creating the platform or the network to offer the service, and and then just constantly solving the problems, right? So to do all those activities, you would need to know what they are for you to know what you need to do, and then that's basically what you put in the column there. And then let's look at the next one, the number 8, key partners. Who are people you're going to work with right now to create your value? So that's basically covers that, your suppliers, finding the best suppliers that can meet your needs, consistency, and so on. That's also very important. And I guess the last one would be cost structure, right? So how are you going to break down your costs and how the business, your fixed costs, your variable costs, so your fixed costs, salaries and rental costs, utilities, and so on. Variable costs reflecting more to things that the costs that will fluctuate from month to month. Electricity is not going to be the same every month. It's going to be fluctuating every month, but your rent will probably be the same every month, so it's just having a sense of that. So that just gives you an overview of the business model canvas. So essentially on the second page, you can see it's blank. So this is your first step to writing your business plan. So you need to then go out there and fill that in for us, if you don't mind. Maybe this will be your homework today. Go out there and fill that. And then next week, we're actually doing the write-up. So next week, we're going to meet up. You're going to come with your business model canvas, and then we're going to all start working on our first draft of the business plan. And then we're done. Then essentially, I'm going to start doing one-on-one consultation to help you actually strengthen the business plan. I've had some of you come to my office chat, which is great. So essentially, I just ask questions. I get you to think about stuff, and then you go back and you figure it out. So we just co-create in the process, which is pretty chilled. So here's an example of what you can fill in to your business model canvas. So Netflix, anybody have a Netflix account? Yeah. I mean, if you had to describe Netflix to somebody 10, 20 years ago, they'd have thought this is crazy. This wouldn't be. Yeah, people think you're crazy, right?
Yeah.
But it always seems like the crazy ones are the ones that get these things done, right? So if people think you're crazy, just know that you're pretty normal. But again, it's like, if you look at them, mass market, targeting the whole world, if we look at their value proposition, it's on demand and huge catalog of content, original content, very competitive price. Like, I mean, I think, how much is it a month now? How much are you paying?
Premium is 200.
$200.
Yeah.
And how much is the other one?
The entry, it's 50.
50
but
50
only
rand.
mobile based, yeah.
Wow, look at that, eh?
One screen.
Yeah, one screen,
One
the mobile
screen.
device.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the premium is 4 screen at a time. You can watch
Yeah.
4 screen.
So $200 from DSTV, which was charging you 1,000 for content that is not really like, if you miss it, you miss it. If that soapy is coming out, at 12 in your class, you missed it. You have to try and catch the replays, and you still have to wait a week for the next episode to drop. Whereas in Netflix, like, you can binge and watch all of this in like a day and finish it. So again, like it's like, to start thinking about this as we go through this, right? And then channels, website, app store, and affiliated partners, and also now you're calling it the mobile app, right? On your phone, you can access the movies and so on. You can watch whatever you want to watch. And then customer relationship, self-service platform. You don't need to be calling people. You log on. If you have any queries, you just write an email and boom, you get assistance. Very efficient. And then the revenue streams for them also based on subscription. Now, if you do the numbers for that, that's a lot of money. So $200 rand is about $10. Let's just say $11 US dollars. And how many users do you think use Netflix around the world?
It's every month. Yeah.
Every month, yeah. And how many users they have every?
Probably close to 50
Millions of users, right? So they're making a lot of money. So that's just basically just an overview of like.
But that's premium only.
Yeah, that's premium, yeah. And then there's also the other one.
Yeah,
It's maybe like $5, whatever. But again, so this is just helps you to paint a picture. And then there's also conversations around the social business canvas. So that's the social business canvas. Basically, what we're saying is we appreciate the fact that value is economic, yes, But then we also appreciate the fact that value can also be social in the sense that we're solving people's problems at a social level. So then that would be captured in the canvas. So it's just one more column that would have a 10th one. So it's just literally adding a 10th one. What social value are we solving through this business? That's essentially would be the argument there. Yeah. So I'll give you an example so that you maybe understand a bit better. So if I'm to give you an example, a business model canvas, maybe that involves Netflix, this would be more of a commercial concept. But even if I was to create a social aspect, maybe the business makes it a mission to create infrastructure in countries where there's no internet and give people access to internet in areas where there's no coverage of internet. Then that would be an element of the business having a social contribution in its existence. That yes, we're offering Netflix, but then in areas where there isn't coverage, where there isn't stable internet, Netflix goes in there and sets up stable Wi-Fi for those communities. Then that will be considered like a very social value, because yes, you're also creating value beyond the product and the offering. They're also dealing with an accessibility problem, which is a big problem in Africa, which is a big problem in South Africa, in all countries in Africa, especially in those remote areas. Where infrastructure disbalances exist. Cool. So that's basically it. Any particular questions? Maybe online, is there any questions?
We have existing business model. Do we have to use this, or we can just?
Is there one?
We have existing business model Canva. Do we have to use this template, or we can?
Oh no, if you have one already, then it essentially covers the same team, so you don't have to. But if you haven't done this before, please complete that. You can complete that. And then I want to get a sense of how many people are still going to participate in the Mujahapedi project. Yeah, there's a couple of people. Okay, cool. And then I want to get a sense of the people that are going to participate in the CEF individually to pitch their own businesses. Cool. So you're going to do a bit of, okay, cool. All right. So I think if you are going to pitch your own business model, it would be nice if you write that down there, if you're going to be presenting that. And then if you're part of the group project, the Mujahapedi project, if you're part of the bees project, then you want to populate that. If you're part of the crop production, you want to populate that according to how you understand. And then next week we'll then kind of finalize the draft, so that I want to get you guys have solid business plans by in the next 2-3 weeks. Everyone should have a solid business plan. And then obviously for the ones where you're participating in Mujahapedi for bees or crop production, you will liaise primarily with the project leaders, and you guys can collectively draft your business plan together as a group. So they'll be on the lead on that. Are you guys in the WhatsApp groups for that? What's happening there? It's a bit quiet, yeah, but they're probably just waiting for more of this, yeah, which is understandable. So yeah, so maybe after this, it might be I'll write to them and to the group leaders and just say maybe that you guys can convene, maybe collectively fill the business model canvas, or you can fill it individually, I don't know, and then meet up together and then discuss it, so that next week when we do the draft, you're all on the same page. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. So what do I owe you from this presentation? I owe you the slides. I owe you the presentation, the explanation of what a business model canvas is, and then I also owe you a draft template. If you want to start populating that, you can actually do that. So I'll send an email a little bit later today, just with all those templates. And yeah, so thanks to everybody online. Thanks for you for joining. Any questions before we wrap up here online? Any clarity you might need? Kamvelihle, can I just ask you, I see you on the call. Is this clear for you?
Yes, although I did come in a bit late,
Oh,
so I was hoping to catch up on the recording once it's released, but
okay, cool.
it seems pretty straightforward.
Okay, no problem. So what I will do, I'll send an email to everybody. Perhaps as a group leader and the other group leader, you can just make sure that you can get everyone in the group to, maybe, I don't know, you can just get everyone in the group to complete the canvas so that you can all meet together and discuss what you all want to do collectively and exchange ideas, and then so that next week when we do the draft, we're all on the same page.
Sure, not a problem.
So basically next week is more of a writing session. It's not going to be too much. Yeah. It's going to be, I'm just gonna be helping you take your canvas into a write-up. All right, cool. Is that clear? All right, cool. I will stop the meeting. Thanks everyone online, and thanks for